Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at some Smith and Wesson revolvers that I just had trigger jobs done on all of them. And before I get started, I'm going to tell you that all three of these revolvers are pretty consistent before I had the work done. And Smith and Wessons are usually somewhat consistent across. Usually on a Smith and Wesson pre-lock revolver, I'm not quite certain on the newer ones, but on these pre-lock revolvers, you're going to expect to get 12 to 13 pounds of pull on the double action, and you're going to get about a 4 to 5 pound pull on the single action, usually somewhere in the fours, like a 4.5 pound range. And all these are pretty consistent on there. I can't show you what they are ahead of time because I've already had all the actions worked on every one of these. Now, one of the things about Smith and Wesson revolvers is I'm a pretty big fan of them, but I just wish they had taken a little bit, more time in their action work and smoothed the triggers up a little bit and had a little bit better trigger from the factory. It's easily corrected, folks, but I just wish that you could just buy a Smith and Wesson revolver as well as they made these things back then. The triggers were perfect out of the box, but it's not the case, and that's always been my complaint about Smith and Wesson. They're just not quite up to the Colt standards from the factory, but they can easily be made to do that. So what we'll do here is when I pick each one of them up, we're going to do a trigger test pull weight on camera here. And I'm going to do this really quick. They're all consistent. And as I pick them up, I'm going to show you that they're not loaded. So we'll get started here. This is a Smith & Wesson. This is a 66-2 stainless 4-inch 357 Magnum. If you folks have any questions on any of these guns here, I have separate videos on all of them where I go to them more in depth. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a regular Lyman trigger pull gauge here, and we're going to test the trigger weights on these. We're going to start off here with a double action pull and see what we can get out of this thing. So it's going to be a 7 pound pull on the double action. We'll do it one more time just to see what we'll come up with. That one came up to 8 pounds. One more time. 7 pounds. This thing does a consistent 7 pound pull, folks. One after another. I've tested it several times before I turn the camera on, and that's what it comes up to. Now we're going to do a single action pull and see what it comes up to. It's going to be about a 2 pound pull on the single action. We'll do one more time just to show you. And it's 2 pounds every single time. So the 66-2 with the action work done on it is a 7 pound double action pull and a 2 pound single action pull. And I'm going to show you these actions are so smooth all the way through. Very consistent all the way through. Just does a great job. I have a gunsmith that does all my work, and he just does a great job on everything. The next one we're going to move into is a 686. This is a no dash version, 4-inch 357 Magnum. See where it says Smith & Wesson, and this is 357 Magnum. We're going to do the same thing with this. Get the same gauge here. We're going to see what the double action pull on this one is. That one came up to 9 pounds. These gauges are really weird if you don't hold them just right. See, it's 7 pounds on that one. Let's do it one more time. 7 pounds. So we're going to call the first one a flop. And we're going to do a single action pull and see what we can come up with here. 3 pounds on the single action. One more time. It's going to be 2 pounds. One more time. 2 pounds. Okay. Basically, this one's going to be exactly the same, folks. I'm not a professional trigger pull gauge guy, but this one comes up consistently at about a 7 pound pull on the double action and about a 2.5 pound pull on the single action. So I'm going to show you real close up how smooth this thing works. It's absolutely unbelievable. If these things came out the factory like this, it'd probably be close to being my favorite revolvers, but They just lack a little bit when they come out of the factory, and we can easily correct that, folks. So we're going to go into the next one here, and this is a 586 blued version. This one has to be -4, and we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to grab our little trusty gauge here, and we're going to see what we can get out of this thing. We're going to zero it here. Whoops. Zero it, and it's going to be 8 pounds on the first one. 6 pounds on the second one, 8 pounds on the second or third one. So this one did a consistent, actually, if you average them out and do like 10 pulls in a row, it averages out to about 7 pounds. I'm just doing a couple quick ones for you. It's 2 pounds on the single action. One more time. 2 pounds. So all of them came out pretty consistent, folks, with them. And I'll show you a close-up here. This trigger work, it is just amazing. Just the double action is just amazing. The single action is amazing. Like I said, when you get into these double action revolvers, folks, all the money is in this single action pull. You just want it very smooth and consistent. And you want somewhere around a 7 pound pull is just about the sweet spot on them. And all of them, with a little bit of work, they all are really consistent. They all feel about the same. So you can take any of these guns with a little bit of practice, and they'll all feel about the same when you pick them up. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what a little bit of trigger work, a little bit of action work does on these Smith and Wesson revolvers, and they can be made pretty awesome. They all look pretty awesome, but the action work, when you do that, they turn into the ultimate revolver. If you have any questions on any of these guns, folks, I have videos on every single one of these, and it goes into depth on each one of them. Just feel free to ask. I'm not an expert on them, but I'll figure out the answer for you. Thank you very much for watching my short video today, and you folks have a great day.